Hey guys, I'm your daddy, but you can call me Church. That's not the fucking intro. Welcome to Church on Monday, the podcast where I talk at you about shit I like. This week, I want to talk about Riddick. Now, before we get into plot summary, reviews, all that shit, I do want to give you guys a little backstory. So, growing up, I had something called MDD, or major depressive disorder. Luckily, my dad was a therapist with a master's degree in psychology, so I actually got diagnosed pretty early. So he was able to teach me strategies to control my depression and resolve it if that became a major issue. So he also taught me a love for literature, movies, really any kind of storytelling medium. So from an early age, I kind of associated therapy with consuming and discussing media. One of the things we shared a passion for was actually science fiction. And my mom never enjoyed science fiction. She frankly kind of hates it. So it was really something we could share and discuss just between us while engaging in those therapeutic rituals. Earlier this week, when I was struggling with a depression, I looked back to one of our favorite series, The Chronicles of Riddick, and decided to just sit down, take a day off, and watch through them. So, here is my discussion, one-sided of course, of the Riddick trilogy. Pitch fucking Black. God damn, is this movie good. So, Pitch Black is a sci-fi horror movie that was released in the year 2000 about a cargo slash coach ship, spaceship, of course, that crash lands on a backwater planet, a desert planet with two suns. All of the survivors are quite lucky because they were carrying a now escaped bounty head known as Riddick, one of the most dangerous escaped convicts in the universe. But the fun doesn't end there for our fucked up little family. No, no, no. They soon discover that there is a life form on this planet, the last surviving on this planet, because it's absolutely vicious, but only comes out in the dark. Now, you might think, well, that's kind of fucking hard when you've got two suns in an asynchronous orbit here. But luckily, they stumbled onto this planet just like 24 hours before the one solar eclipse that happens every 22 years. So when they learn that Riddick is not the only thing to be feared on the planet, they cut him loose, deciding that his drive for survival will be a little stronger than his bloodlust. So with their fingers crossed, they hatch a plan to transport power cells from their crash ship to an abandoned skiff that they find at an abandoned geological research station. So they take a solar-powered vehicle back to their ship, and of course the lights turn off as soon as they get there. So they're kind of fucked, and they have to drag these power cells, these heavy power cells, back to the ship through this horde of vicious monsters. That's kind of the plot summary. I won't go over the ending. I highly suggest you watch these. I'm gonna go into kind of my review and analysis next, but if you have any interest in these movies, I'm gonna say on everyone, you should 100% watch it. So I'm gonna give you fair warning. I'm about to fucking gush about this movie, and you know my biases. You are aware that I have a lot of nostalgia and emotional connection to this particular film. So please excuse me the, I don't fucking know, 5, 15, maybe 30-minute rant about how good this is, and just, enjoy the smooth tones as we go along. So, first thing I want to say is this movie looks fucking great. For a movie that came out in 2000, visuals are great. The monster design is it's fucking fantastic. They're scary to this day. The mix of practical and computer effects, just fucking prime. It looks good. The color grading does go a little far in some points, but it is to create a particular tone, atmosphere, and convey the stress of this desert. And it does do that well enough that I definitely won't complain about the lighting. The first line in this movie is a voiceover by our, believe it or not, protagonist, Riddick, that gives a very concise introduction to the characters and the universe we're in. And it really is an interesting universe. It's kind of like Dune for Dummies. It's this expansive human empire in 500 years in the future that for some reason still has similar religions and stuff. It's not, I will grant that it's not the most well thought out, but it's really fun, and it's really cool that they have details of it strewn throughout this small scale story, and they do a very good job at expanding that and rolling it into the characters really effectively. And I love that intro is obviously well thought out, and it shows how they could have just made this direct sci-fi horror film, but they did think out the universe, and they did implement that. And I think that's very respectable of the writers and the director. The writers, Ken and Jim Wheat, and with the director of David Twohy, I believe that's how it's pronounced, and he has a co-writing credit on this. And I believe moving forward in the films, it's the same writers, and it's definitely the same director. And it shows that they were really passionate about this project, and I really respect it. And it made a fantastic fucking film. Now the cast is great. Vin Diesel, I think this is like one of his first movies after Saving Private Ryan. Radha Mitchell plays Fry. Awesome fucking character. Crazy competent, sexy female character that is just really cool and really good in this role. Keith fucking David as one of the Muslims on pilgrimage to New Mecca, as they call it in this, does just a great job. And whoever plays the kid, Jack, she is really good for a child actress. I think she's like early teens. I don't remember how old Jack is supposed to be. I think like 13. But she's very good in this role. And that's pretty surprising for a young actress like that. And I do find the structure of this film very interesting because there's not a whole lot quite like it because it starts out as like this survival story, and then it introduces Riddick and becomes kind of a slasher film, but without the deaths. So basically, the good part of a slasher film that's not just Reaganomics put to film, and then it transfers into basically a zombie horde movie. And I really dig it, uh, to put it simply. So obviously, Pitch Black has my recommendation to all viewing audiences. Now, before I move on to the second film in the trilogy, The Chronicles of Riddick, I do want to say I am well aware that there's the animated short movie that takes place between Pitch Black and The Chronicles of Riddick. I'm also aware of the two video games, Escape from Butcher Bay and Dark Athena, and I've consumed all those. I've enjoyed all of those, but I'm not going to be talking about them this time around. If there's interest, and honestly, this is kind of a one-sided discussion here, so if I'm interested, I will probably do those in a future episode. I'll cover those, kind of the plot and rumination on them. So on to Chronicles of Riddick. This one opens up with Riddick being hunted by a new mercenary group. The leader is called Toombs this time. I skipped this in the first one, but Riddick had been captured by a mercenary named Johns in Pitch Black, and that's why he was on the transport ship with everyone else. Johns ended up passing away in that movie. I'll leave a little mystery as to the particulars of that. But in this new second film, he's being pursued by Toombs and his men. He does end up overwhelming this particular band and taking their ship back to Helion Prime, the origin of this bounty on his head. Here he learns about the Necromongers, a cult of such that's traveling across the universe and killing off entire planets, converting new members. Their religion is honestly kind of hazy. They're searching for something called the Underverse. Their leader is what they call Half-Dead, which the rules on that aren't entirely clear, and that's okay. He has some mystical power where he can move very fast, but only his soul and then his body moves fairly quickly behind him. It's odd, but it's interesting. I'll give them that for sure. And he is captured by this religious order, or actually, I think he sneaks on their ship. Not totally clear, but it turns out that their leader has seen a prophecy that a young Furian male is going to kill him. And it just so happens that Riddick was fucking born on Furia. So, Furia the planet, making him a young Furian male. Now, the Lord Marshal, or the leader of the Necromongers, is a little shocked by this because he did a little genocide and killed every single Furian about 30 years prior. So, whoopsie day, he missed Riddick. And so, obviously, Riddick has to get the fuck off this ship. He does so, of course, he's fucking Riddick, but is then captured by Toombs and his new crew. They go to a planet named Crematoria, where there's a triple max prison. And this planet is supposedly inescapable because on the day side it's 700 degrees Celsius, and on the night side it's negative 300 degrees Celsius. So that's a bit of a problem, but when Riddick gets in, he finds the young Jack, who turned out to idolize him and try to follow in his footsteps. But she has been captured. Cool thing about Jack in this, she's played by the same actress who played her 5 years prior in Pitch Black, and I think that's really cool. She does a great job in this. But when she and Riddick manage to escape, Riddick has his powers awakened, his Furian powers awakened by some spirit who's been projecting herself to him throughout this movie. And he defeats a few necromongers who were sent to this planet to recapture and kill him. So he's passed out and the sun is approaching. So Jack thinks he's dead and goes with the necromongers. Of course, he's not dead, because once again, he's fucking Riddick. And he learns that one of the key figures in the necromonger religion, who was also trapped on this planet after this skirmish, is also a Furian, though he converted to the necromonger faith. So this Furian instructs him to get his ass to the fleet, kill the Lord Marshal, and keep what you kill. Keep what you kill is a key tenet to the necromonger faith. Weapons, title, anything from the person you killed, you keep. So this key figure walks into the sun and kind of inspires Riddick to keep pursuing the Lord Marshal. So Riddick ends up sneaking onto the central ship of the necromongers and, of course, tries to kill the Lord Marshal. During this battle, Jack is thrown against a pokey wall and she dies. And so Riddick is now fucking pissed because, he was basically a father figure or older brother figure to Jack. And, it's the Lord Marshal's fault that she's now dead. So he gets pissed. He battles the Lord Marshal. The Lord Marshal tries to suck out his fucking soul. And at this time, a general of the necromongers has hatched this plot to kill the Lord Marshal because, of course, you keep what you kill. So he would be the new leader of the necromongers. And so while the Lord Marshal is trying to rip out Riddick's soul, he takes a swing. Of course, he misses, as the Lord Marshal uses his weird spirit power to run toward Riddick and away from this commander. But Riddick is waiting with a knife where his head's about to be. So, long story short, Riddick kills the Lord Marshal and becomes the leader of this vague space faith. Now, you may have noticed something in all of that, that is a much longer and more complex description than the last film. Yeah, they seem to to take Riddick big. You know, they increase the scope of everything, the plot, the stakes, the world building, everything, and they also bumped it down from an R rating to a PG-13 rating for this film. It does cause this to be kind of the low point in the series. It drags a lot more. It has a lot more sour lines in it. Like, there's seeing Riddick interact with so many different people kind of, it gives way to some very bad lines. For example, when he's first on the necromonger ship, he's being led by this woman to this like prophecy room, and he says to her, "Been a long time since I smelled beautiful," and I just, I just fucking crack up at that line. It's so fucking bad every time. I love this movie. Don't get me wrong. It's not a bad movie at all. It is the low point in this series, but I do like the world building that they do in this. They establish these badass iconic weapons for Riddick that he uses for one fucking fight, these curved blades. But that, you know, it drives that staple. It also, you know, explains where Riddick's from, why he seems so much stronger and more capable than everyone. It explains it doesn't fully explain his eyeshine ability, where he can see in the dark, but it does establish a lot of cool things that I like about this universe, and I think that it's necessary for this series. But if you just want the pure, really fucking good filmmaking in this series, you can probably cut this one out and go for Pitch Black and then Riddick to get the top experience from this. But I do suggest you watch them all three, because first off, you're not going to understand what the fuck the beginning of the third movie is about. But that may be a trade-off you want to make. The special effects in this are still fucking amazing. Creature design, great. I like the story a lot. And the acting is great as usual. Still got Vin Diesel. You've got Rhianna Griffith reprising her role as Jack. You still got Keith fucking David. You've got, Carl Urban as the commander of the Necromongers. Just, it's just good. It's got good characters. And it applies everything this writing team and director do well, just to a much larger scale. Alright, now on to what is the current conclusion to the Riddick saga, Riddick. Now, this movie is unashamedly a reworking of the original Pitch Black story. It starts off with Riddick trying to survive on this alien planet. He was tricked into going here by the Necromonger commander, who was going to betray the Lord Marshal, but now serves Riddick as the Lord Marshal. He was led to believe that this individual knew where his homeworld of Furia was, and that he would be led there. But instead, he was dropped off on this backwater desert planet. So the first 30 minutes of this are him encountering the wildlife, learning to survive, and raising a nice little alien doggo. It's really cool. It was established in the previous film that he's good with animals, so it's a nice little touch that they bring over a lot of little threads from the Chronicles of Riddick. So, during this survival montage, Riddick discovers that there are these creatures on this planet that hibernate in, or they seem to only be able to be active in mud. So essentially they need water to be active, and they're in the dirt. He does something pretty clever. He takes their venom and injects small doses into his and his dog's bloodstream to acclimate themselves. I'm not confident that's how venom works, but it's a cool idea for sure. So, this is all in preparation for having to fight these creatures if need be, which is convenient because soon into the movie, Riddick finds that there is a massive monsoon coming straight for him. So he will soon be flooded with these creatures, and he needs to get the fuck off this planet. So he ends up finding this old abandoned Merc co-op station where there is an emergency beacon. He scans his own face knowing that there's a massive fucking bounty on his head, and just waits for the mercenary ships to come. The first mercenary band to arrive is led by this asshole named Santiago? Santiago. And he's immediately characterized as the fucking scum of the earth. He's a rapist, he's a murderer, he's just the fucking worst. And spoiler alert, but later he's the piece of shit that gets the honor of killing the dog. So you kind of know how his story's gonna fucking end. But after his band arrives, sets up a perimeter, all of this shit, another ship actually lands containing what seems to be a far more organized and professional mercenary band. So their interactions are, interesting, but things really start heating up when night comes, because obviously with his eyeshine ability, Riddick is mostly active in the evening. And this planet is interesting because the moon is odd. It's not a reflective satellite, but it does seem to give off some light, like it's a volcanic mass, but the nights are very dark here, so Riddick is 100% in his element. And this sequence is so fucking cool because they take the slasher feel of the first one and they make him more justified in killing these people because they're actually an active threat to him. So this sequence is actually kind of fucking scary. There's this awesome shot where this guy is standing back to back with a person, and, of course, it's only a shot on the front guy's face, so he's dead and Riddick is dragging him off. But when he turns around to see there's no one behind him, he actually sees Riddick fucking nonchalantly walking off with this dude's corpse, and it's fucking awesome. So they really perfected this part of the movie and did it very well. Now, eventually, Riddick has to make contact because, of course, he just needs to get off this fucking planet. And he knows that as soon as that monsoon hits this station, they're all gonna want to get off too. So he makes contact, and they, of course, take him prisoner. And he convinces him that he knows where the power cells that he stole from them are, and they just need to let him go. And Santiago, of course, the fucking asshole piece of shit, killed his dog just, hours before this. And he just wants Riddick in for the bounty. And the bounty is double if he's dead, so he's just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna kill this guy. But this is where a little interesting character beat comes in. The leader of the other merc band is Johns. It's the father of the original mercenary who had captured Riddick in Pitch Black. So he just wants answers for the death of his son. And that's why he's here, to talk to Riddick and get those answers. So the two bands are, butting heads at this point. And Santiago's like, I'll just fucking kill him. And this is when the mud demons come into play. The rain starts beating on the roof. Riddick, has this big fucking smirk. He's like, oh, you guys are gonna fucking need me now. And the first person dies from this mud demon. And everybody freaks out. And then the second person dies, and they're like, okay, we're gonna let Riddick go. And this leaves Johns's team down to himself and Doll, his female sniper, and Santiago's team is still up 4 people. So Santiago says, no, we're going to hold Riddick down and cut off his fucking head because I just want this money. So one of the most badass scenes happens. So he's about to chop Riddick's head off and put it in this box. He threatened as soon as he arrived that he would put Riddick's head in this box. He held it up for Riddick to see all this. And so he leans Riddick's head over this box and wields his machete. He's about to go down with it when Riddick kicks him, balances the machete on his foot, kicks the machete up, and kicks it straight into the face of Santiago, bisects him at the fucking mouth, kicks the box over to him, and lets his head slide into it. I had to explain that scene in full, because it's fucking brilliant. So with Santiago out of the way, all the remaining mercs decide, okay, let's go with Riddick to get the fucking power cells. So they get on motorbikes, they go out there. One of the guys from Santiago's team decides to kill Riddick and probably Johns, and just bring the power cells back and get the fuck out of there himself. Of course, this is going against Riddick. So you guys can fucking guess. This asshole from Santiago's team dies and fucks up their bikes. So they have to hoof it back to the ships with the power cells. And it's just Riddick and Big Daddy Johns at this point. So they're going, they have to fight off all these mud demons as a team. And eventually Riddick gets stabbed by one of these creatures. And John throws off a grenade to distract them as he goes and inspects Riddick. But he's like, well, you're gonna fucking die. So he takes Riddick's power cell and runs back to the ships. Now, Riddick is left there bleeding with his weapon broken. He grabs some of the hot rocks that were a result of this grenade blast and cauterizes his wound, is beating these fucking mud demons off with his goddamn fists, climbing up this mountain in this massive storm. Looks badass. Great cinematography. And he thinks Johns has abandoned him, so he's gonna have to fight these off with his fucking fists and make it back to the ship. Luckily, some plasma rounds go off and start killing all the mud demons around him. And it turns out Johns actually did come back for him, which is nice. It's a good happy ending. And Johns picks him up, and they go their separate ways. At this point, Riddick is just thinking, well, that was a big fucking inconvenience. So he goes back to one of the thugs who left him on this planet and, wants to find out where that Commander Vaco, went after this betrayal. It turns out that he has maybe moved into the Underverse, but Riddick is still looking for Furia. And that's kind of where we're left off in this series. So, Riddick, as a finale to the trilogy, honestly, I'd be happy with it. I would fucking love a fourth movie to come out, and David Twohy is still talking about releasing another one. So, really hope that happens. The cinematography in this one is still off the fucking charts. Great special effects, great physical effects, great monster design. It's just so fucking good. It takes the world building strings and just weaves them together well into this small scale story akin to the first one. And I just really love this film. It didn't get the box office reception that they were wanting. I think they all went downhill from the first one in terms of viewership and profit, but God, I really hope that they continue making this series and fleshing it out. I really enjoy the universe. I really enjoy the storytelling. It's really effective movie making, and I enjoy it quite a bit. And obviously, gets me out of my depressive slumps. So that's a big thumbs up from me. That's where I think I'll leave you guys off this week. Remember to check out my socials on both Twitter and Instagram. I'm its_just_church. And if you want to leave me an email, that email address is churchonmonday@gmail.com. So I hope you guys all have a very nice week. Remember, God has abandoned us, but I'm holding church on Mondays. Love you. Bye. No tears. Don't fuck with more yet. Take what you can get. You're not my girlfriend.